Hello gorgeouses and welcome back to another video. I feel like my channel isn't complete without coffee. They're beating on Zara. Don't scratch a hole in my shirt. Is it possible to trim the claws of rats because they're really sharp? I'm sorry you're being bullied by your roommates. If I put a rat in my video, is that gonna disturb people? Did you like this book? I was liking it for like the first 2/3. And then towards the ending I'm like building up to this, oh my gosh, who's the killer? And I was very disappointed. I'm gonna see if I can do this whole video with a rat on my shoulder. I'm guessing it's probably not gonna go well because she's gonna probably pee on me. This channel is new and something that I want to do is review a brand new book maybe once or twice a month. And the new book that I'm going to be reviewing for you today, and yes, it has to have spoilers because I need to vent about this book, is I Know You Know by Gilly Macmillan. I love you. I also have a cat, but she doesn't really care. So I Know You Know follows 3 perspectives. First, there's Detective Fletcher and his partner Danny. Then there's Cody Swift and his podcast. And lastly, we have Jessica Page, who is the mother of Charlie, one of the dead boys from 20 years ago. While this book was thrilling and exciting and suspenseful, I was very let down by the ending. 20 years ago, there were 3 best friends, Charlie, Scott, and Cody. Cody ripped his shirt and was not allowed to go outside to play with the boys the night that the other 2 boys were murdered. So it's kind of dumb luck that he survived. You're scratching the heck out of my neck. Ooh, that's my neck, that's my hair. Girl, come forward, come more forward, more forward. Oh, just my little Zarkins. This is one of those books where the whole time you're reading it, you're like, who's the killer, who's the killer, who's the killer? And as you're reading the book, all the characters that you encounter could be suspects and could be the killer. Why this book was not fair and why the ending was a total cop-out was because of this. As a reader, not cool. I knew that was gonna happen. It's alright. Okay, so that was bound to happen. I was waiting for it. Back to the book. As a reader, reading a detective novel or a mystery that you wanna, solve, what makes reading thrillers fun is trying to guess who the killer is. It's not fair when the killer is not even introduced at all until the ending, because how was I supposed to guess who the killer was if he's not in the book at all? That is just not fair. I would have been a lot happier if the killer had been someone who was mentioned in the book. It is just a book, Emily, it is just a book. Let's rewind back into the synopsis of the story so I can give you a little bit more detail. I love books where chapter 1 is like present day, and then chapter 2 flashes back to 20 years ago, and then the next chapter is now, and the next chapter is 20 years ago. This book did that. So Cody Swift is in present day doing his podcast, and then Jessica Page's chapters were in present day, her and her daughter and her new husband, or her first husband, she was never married. And then it's in the detective chapters that it flashes back to 20 years before. And I really liked how the detectives chapters were split like that. And then it would flash back to them working on the case 20 years ago about the 2 little boys. We have a lot of main characters. So there's Detectives Fletcher and Danny. There's Cody Swift, and he brings a bunch of people onto his podcast to interview because he's trying to reopen the case from 20 years ago. Because Cody doesn't think that the person that was put in jail was guilty. There's Jessica Page, who was Charlie's mom, who had her baby when she was a teenager and was kind of looked down on and partied a lot. But she grew up and got remarried and had a daughter who's 16 in the book. There's Felix Abernathy, who's kind of a pimp and also holds a lot of power. There may or may not be a dirty detective. There's an ex-detective who was basically forced out of his job because of a scandal. There's an elderly woman with Alzheimer's. Sidney Noyce, who was put away for the murder of the 2 boys 20 years ago, was so autistic that he was mentally like 10 years old. He was a grown man, but mentally, he was not. And they put him away. It's just a book. It's just a book. I did not appreciate that they put away the extremely mentally challenged for this murder. What was the whole point of Jess being in foster care and the foster father having fathered Charlie? That had nothing to do with the killer and the plot. I'm like, oh my gosh, the foster dad did. The foster dad realized she kept the baby and he's pissed and he wants revenge and wants to kill his son. And when the long dead body is found in the same location where the boys were left decades before, this makes no sense. How did Detective John Fletcher find the dead boys and not see a 3rd corpse? They all 3 died on the same night. What? And what about the poppies, okay? The poppies were supposed to be some sort of what's the thing the killers leave behind, like a signature or something? My brain was going a mile a minute, and then the ending is just like, Alzheimer's lady just tells him who the killer is and it's done. Oh, what was the point of the whole book? There's a woman on the front cover. Maybe that's an indication that the killer was a female. All of the characters are male. The boys, and then the dead man, and both detectives, and Cody Swift. There's Felix. Everyone is male, but there's a girl on the cover. So you're like, oh my god, Jessica did it, Jessica did it. She has no alibi on the night that her son was killed. You wanna hear some of my running theories? I thought it was Maya. I thought Maya was in foster care with Jessica way back when. I don't know if that would make sense because Jessica's an adult and Maya's like early 20s, but that was one of my theories. You know, we later find out that there is no Maya, oh, she's fake. And I mentioned this before, then I thought like it's the foster father. The foster father wants to kill Charlie because he doesn't want his, you know, not really incest spawn, but like, you know, foster, that's weird, so he wanted to kill him when he tracked him down. Scott was with him, so he killed them both. And then the third body didn't make any sense. This book also involves Detective John Fletcher being a dirty cop, being, you know, in cahoots with Felix, who is this guy with power and contacts all over the city and money and has prostitutes. The whole time I'm like, who wants to kill little kids? Who wants to kill little kids? Oh, they were in the wrong place at the wrong time. That's why they're dead? That's the big reason why these two little boys are dead? Wrong place, wrong time? I mean, I didn't hate it, it wasn't that bad. Like, I was super engaged up until the ending just was like, bleh. The author obviously wanted you to think that Jessica did it, because she's the only character who is pointed at. She's the only character who's like, oh, I have no alibi for that night, and I'm not gonna tell anyone where I was. I know the book is pointing towards Jessica, so I know it's not Jessica. Oh, and then there's this little scare with Ollie and Erica. Erica's Jessica's daughter, and Ollie is her boyfriend, and they lie about, oh, I'm gonna stay at his house, and oh, I'm gonna stay at her house. And then they just go see Rocky Horror Picture Show. It really made you think that, oh, Jessica's son was murdered, and now someone's coming after her daughter? No. Oh, and then the little boy, before he died, he said the word ghost. Oh, that could be a detail of the killer. No. The mummified ear? It was just another little tidbit thrown in there at the end for the reader to think, oh, Hazel killed... What? Doug pointed this out to me. Oh, the woman on the front cover is in black and white almost. I thought it was just for creep factor, but he pointed out that this could be the Alzheimer's lady from 20 years before. No. All of my theories were so in-depth. No. And what was the whole deal with Annabelle? Annabelle's so young, she can't possibly be Hazel's daughter. And the answer to that was, Hazel's like, yeah, I didn't think I could have a daughter at that age, but I did. Okay, cool. And then there's the aspect of droplets of Charlie's blood on Sydney's shirt. Oh my god, send him to jail. He has a couple drops of blood from a boy that he supposedly bludgeoned. He's guilty. So to explain that, oh, he was bit by a dog and bled on him. Serious? Did anyone see that Charlie had a bite on his arm? Also, Cody had no personality when he was doing his podcast. The only perspective that is in first person had no personality. I'm really sorry if you love this book and I'm picking apart this book like a vulture. There are holes, people. There are holes. Why mention poppies like it means anything? Why didn't you find the body of a man amongst the two dead boys? Why is the killer no one we have ever heard about until the end? Why is foster care brought up at all? And the puppy was forgotten about until Cody Swift miraculously remembers. Like, it's like Gilly wrote this and was like, okay, I'm gonna add blood to his clothes to make him look guilty, but I'm gonna figure that out later. And then she gets to the point where she wants to figure out how Charlie's blood got on Sydney, so she's like, all right, they find a puppy, and Cody totally forgot about it until now. Okay, so he's just gonna remember. Yeah, it's gonna be great, okay. How are you gonna believe that a woman with Alzheimer's just knows who the killer is and tells you, and bam, we're done? A woman with Alzheimer's says something, and they believe her. They're lapping it up like it's milk. She says, yeah, Terry was the killer. Really? Oh my gosh, solved! And then she hands Annabelle an ear in a box saying, this was your father's. And she just believes her that that was her father's actual cut-off mummified ear. He got it at a voodoo shop or something. How you gonna have a woman on the front cover when the majority of the characters are male? Poppies again, because I really thought that was relevant to anything. What was the point of Peter Dale being the father of Annabelle? This is a murder story about little boys. Money scandal? No. Ugh. Because this is a spoiler review and I'm just not holding anything back, the killer was the half-brother of the murdered man, Peter Dale, who had nothing to do with the boys. The murdered man was doing like a money scandal and stole money from a bunch of people, and his half-brother was one of the people that he stole money from, that he screwed over, and so the brother kills him, and it's just a brother feud thing. How to write a really good book. Set up the entire book flawlessly, and then get to the ending and realize you didn't plan anything, so just be like, oh, let's put in a brother. Yeah, and he did it. Done. Deadline. Met. The killer is not even in the book at all, but his name is mentioned on page 291. Girl, I don't know about you, but I don't want to read almost 300 pages and not have heard the character's name. Kind of a big main character. The killer. But just because I didn't like this book doesn't mean other people aren't going to. And just because I had a problem with the ending doesn't mean you will. So I hope that my choice of book and then resulting opinions of the book that I chose don't deter you from watching my videos in the future. That is it for this video. I am sorry if the rat pooping on me was disturbing to anyone, but hey, it happens, and why did I include it in the video? I thought it was funny. Insert pictures of if my rats were people. Okay, my Simon passed away 2 days ago. So this is Simon, and Zara, who I just named Zara because I liked the name, but here is like real lifetime Zara. And then there's Rudy, who I named after a character from Misfits, and Lyra, who is from Philip Pullman's Golden Compass series.